Hi, everybody. My name is Shannon Bosley, and I'm going to present to you today using ebooks to increase ebook, using ebooks to increase access to reading. So let me share my screen with you, and we are going to get started. Move myself down to the bottom. Okay. So as I mentioned before, my name is Shannon Bosley. I am currently an instructional coach at Holmes Middle School in Covington, Kentucky. We are a part of the Covington Independent School District. We have one high school, one middle school, and 5 elementaries, and then an early learning center for our students. So I am also currently a doctoral candidate at Xavier University, working on that. Should be finished in the next few months. Fingers crossed. I'm also a certified librarian, former technology and curriculum coordinator for a parochial school district, and a former middle school language arts teacher. I am also a wife and a mom of 3, and soon to be grandmother in the spring. So why ebooks? Well, first of all, we can access them. We can access them on tablets. We can access them on our desktop. We can access them on their phones, and we can access them on our laptop. So at any one time, you can have access to all types of resources and just at the click of the button. So you can always have that book with you. I always told my students, always have something to read with you, and you'll be surprised how much more you can read. With the phones at our fingertips, you should be able to have access all the time. So let's talk then about inclusion and accessibility when it comes to ebooks. Typically, you're going to have avid readers and you're going to have struggling readers. And what do avid readers need? Well, they need 24 accessibility to titles. They need lots of choices, and they need different formats for those. And they also need offline access. So although their students might have internet accessibility at school, they may not have it at home, or they might not be in school right now. So we need to have offline access at times. So what do our struggling readers need? Well, they also need 24 accessibility. They need lots of choices, especially different levels. Okay, and we'll talk more about that shortly. They also need different formats. And when I mean different formats, it could be different an audio versus an e-print, or it needs to be on their phone versus a tablet versus a desktop. They need offline access as well. But more importantly, they also need accessibility features. They need, I'm going to move that over there, e-print, considering e-print books, they need the font. Did you know that there is a dyslexic font available for ebooks? They also can do text size. So if you have a student that struggles with the size of the text, with visual impairment, or just if they're a beginning reader, they need a larger text size. Or if they're an older reader like me and they want bigger text size and not to have their glasses on. They also have highlighting capabilities. Mark those important things or mark those things that you need to go over with your teacher or your partner or your parent. Many also have text to speech features. Okay. And some are the computer automated and others are not. So it depends on your vendor and your resource on that. Dictionaries are available. Very important for our struggling readers. Page background color, which for dyslexic students helps. Do you have a different page color than white? And what about for audio? Well, you can do the speed slower or faster. So for struggling readers, you might be slower. But I've also had students where they're really good readers and they need to get through something quick. And so they put it at 1.25 speed and they get through the title quicker. And they also have a replay option. So you can go back 15, 30 seconds and did I miss that? Did I hear that? Did I get distracted? I know myself, I'm an avid reader, but somebody interrupts me and I don't hit pause quick enough and I was at a critical point, I need to replay it for a few seconds. And I don't need to like go back and figure out exactly where in the setting. I can just hit the 30 or 15 second back button. This is also really important. No one knows. The titles are unique to the reader. No one can see their book choices unless the reader shares. So if it is a middle schooler book that really needs to be working on a beginning chapter book, that's okay. Nobody needs to know what he or she is reading. Or if it's a book about a sensitive topic for a student, nobody can tell on that book. Okay. I've had students at the high school level that were looking at gender um, books dealing with gender issues. They weren't struggling with it, but they had a friend or a relative that was, and they wanted to learn more about it. But they didn't want their friends looking at it and questioning them. So it was a sensitive topic. They weren't ready to discuss it. Their family member wasn't ready to discuss it, or their friend wasn't. So they wanted to keep it private, but they were trying to learn and understand more. So where can you find free ebooks? Best places are your school library and public library. So my public libraries are Kenton County Public Library, Cincinnati Public Library, and the Campbell County Public Library. And I'll tell you why. I live in Kenton County, but because I'm a bordering county to Cincinnati Public Library in Ohio, I live right across the river, I can get a library card. As long as I'm in good standing from my home library, they will reciprocate and I can get a public library card there. Campbell County Public Library does the same thing as well, but they also offer a digital library card where you don't even have to be part of it. So we'll take a look at those. Let's just look at Kenton County real quick. And you can see, so I put it right to go to their e-media. And you can find their ebooks. So they have Overdrive. They have a separate children's room. They have a teen reading room. They also have what they call Hoopla, where you can borrow up to 10 free digital videos, music, and audiobooks each month. Titles are always available, so you don't have to wait for holds on that, whereas Overdrive you do. Reference and research ebooks, okay? Those are available. You have Tumble Books, which is a collection of animated talking picture books. You have Teen Book Cloud, which we'll go into a little bit more on the school side in a minute. Teen Book Cloud or Tumble Book Cloud Junior. Okay. Then they go into the audiobooks. So again, Overdrive, RB Digital audiobooks, and Hoopla. And you also have some music option, some magazine options, and some video options there. Cincinnati Public. When you go here, you can see their ebooks that are available right then and there. They also have an ebook frequently asked questions if you want more information on that. And then your Campbell County, they have their digital library branch and you can sort through. Kentucky Libraries Unbound, that's a consortium that many public libraries in the state of Kentucky are together so they can share resources, get more bang for your buck, so to speak. Then we also have our school libraries. Okay. Oops, let me go back. So in the state of Kentucky, and I know there's some other states that have something similar, we have the Kentucky Virtual Library, which is a collection of database and resources. Most people don't think, well, that's just for research. What do I want to do with that? Well, you're wrong. There are ebooks available. So if we go here to students, and I'm just going to go ahead and pick middle because that's where I am, but it's middle of the road for everybody, right? And I can go down to here, EBSCO, and I can see what their ebook collection is all about. And I can browse and I can see which ones they have. So again, there's more fiction or more nonfiction on here than fiction, but there are tons of resources. I just found the one for my speech teacher and sent it to her this morning so that she might be able to utilize in her classroom or in for her virtual students some speech techniques for young adults. So you can do that. Then we can go back and then, sorry about that. All these extra controls on here. So now we have Mac and Via. So Mac and Via is a digital learning platform or digital platform that you can access. And I have my sample student account that I'm going to log into here. Go ahead and move that to the corner. So again, it's from Holmes Middle School. Welcome sample. So I can go and I can look at all of those. And you'll notice at the very bottom, it'll have a book, or on some of these we'll have the audio, the headphones. And that just stands for an audio or an e-print book. Okay, so then you can search if we wanted to open a book. I checked this one out, that's why it had the green check mark. I can open it up and I can look at it. I'm going to go all the way back to the cover just so you guys can see. Dress code it, and there's your copyright page. Anything that's blue is going to be hyperlinked, so if I miss, it's on a 2-page spread now because I'm on a widescreen. If I was on a tablet or a phone, it would just show the one page at a time. If I don't like that, I can go like this and I can create it just to one page. Okay. This is also down here where I have my fonts. Remember we talked about that. If I want to go smaller, I want to go bigger. I also can change the font style. This is where you have the Open Dyslexic font. Okay. The brightness. And then over here, I can change the background. I'm on white, I can go to sepia, or I can go to black, which I often use if I'm reading in bed at night on my tablet or my phone. I'll change it to that. It's easier on my eyes, as well as it's not as distracting to my husband. I can also, let me go back to white because it shows up a little bit better. And I'll go to the brightness. And if I say I want to, go back. If I want to highlight or bookmark something, I can put the bookmark up there. And then when I can look for my bookmarks later, okay, shows how far I am on the bottom, 2%. I can go down. Now here's it.
Them weigh the pros and cons, and it's kind of nice to be with them again, like we were all the time before things got difficult.
So they offer a text-to-speech. It is the robotic or the computer voice, so it's not as interesting. You have a notebook. So I can have, I highlighted a section and then a sample note. I can also edit that. And then I can save it. I can also color code it, or I could delete it. Here's where I can go to my bookmarks, things like that. And I'll show you where you can access that in a minute. So if I go here, there's my menu. Here's where I go to my notebook, my table of contents, and then also wonderful citations. So if you're using MLA, APA, Chicago, they're provided by EasyBib, but it's embedded in there. And I can go back. Oops. Get back to my menu choice when it comes up, and I can close the book. And just to give you a different feel, so from the computer voice to a true audiobook. Okay, we're gonna.
James Dashner, read for you by Mark Deakins. Prologue. Newt. It snowed the day they killed the boy's parents. An accident, they said much later.
So you can tell the spacing, the timing, the tone, all of that changes when it's a true audiobook. But here's where we talked about the speed. So if I need to take it down a little bit to 0.75 or 0.5, I can do that. I can also just drag this and go up to my next spot. I can still have my notebook and I can add notes if I put it with my bookmark there. Okay. So on and so forth. Close, go to the notebook, citations again, and close the book. So that's your Mac and VIA. There are a lot more features, and if you are interested in that, you can access that or contact the vendor for that. But you have lots of different options. They do have a database that's available as what we have in our collection. I can add more to this. I'm part of a consortium within the state, but I can add more books, titles that are unique to my school, things like that. So I'm going to go ahead and close that out. And we're going to go back to this. And then we're going to talk about Sora. Okay. But so Sora, let me take a step back. I'm sorry. We'll go to Sora in just a second. But what I want to talk to you about is the other vendors have ebook services too. So Follett, if you use Follett Destiny for your library service, you might be familiar with that. Junior Library Guild has a digital book service as well. EBSCO, which we showed you through our Kentucky Virtual Library, Rosen Digital, Capstone, Gale, and there's just a lot more. But let me go back to what I talked about Sora. So Overdrive is the company that offers, and it's probably the most well known, been around it the most. And they used to have the Overdrive app. It's been around since 2011, so quite a bit of time. And it includes some features that the Libby app does not have and the Sora app doesn't have. So they introduced Libby about a year or so ago, and that is targeted for public libraries. And then they came out with the Sora app, which is targeted to schools. So the rep told me probably sometime in the next year or two, Overdrive, the classic app, will be going away because all of the features will be embedded either into Libby or Sora. Okay, so let me just go back now to Sora so I can show you that. All right. So here's Sora. Now, one thing I want you to pay attention to is I have multiple school districts as part of this. So like Audiobook Sync, it's not showing any collections right now because that is only a program that is in the late spring to summer. If you're not familiar with that, please check out Audiobook Sync. You get free audiobooks, 2 per week, for a total of about 12 weeks, starting in late April. I believe, is typically, and you can get those. You also have the Kenton County Public Library. So yes, I'm in Sora, but Overdrive offers what they call a Public Library Connect. So if you have a Sora account for your schools, you can ask the public library to connect, and now all of a sudden your students have all those resources available to them as well. It is filtered, so you're only going to get those that are targeted for kids and teens and things like that. So you can work on that on the background, but you're not going to get mature books from the public library coming into your Sora app. The other nice advantage of that is they do not need another login. They don't even need a public library card. The Public Library Connect is saying the public library agrees that their student credentials are sufficient enough for them to borrow their books. So you automatically have access to a lot more. So I can search all that. And then remember I mentioned before Kentucky Libraries Unbound, that I got through the Campbell County Public Library. So I have 4 basically sources within my Sora app to find books and to check those out. And it's very, very easy. So I'm going to go back to my Sora or back to my Kenton County Public Library through Sora, and I can search. So let me go to juvenile fiction. And again, I can right up here have some choices up there, but I can go to preferences. So these preferences are what they call sticky, meaning if you put them on there, they're not going to change the next time you come back in. So you do have to remember that. So if you say, you know what, I only want to look for audiobooks, it's only going to look for audiobooks and it's going to filter that. Okay. So now here, refine. Then say I want to do sort by date edit, or I want to sort it by popularity of all libraries. Okay. And what's my other preference? I can see available books. I want to do everything, or I just want to do available books. So I'm going to do available books. Oh, it didn't take there. Sorry, I forgot to hit save at the very bottom. So let me go back to audiobooks, and I forgot to save my preferences. Oh, all these things sticking up. Let's scroll up. Now I'm going to apply. Sorry. So now it's only going to show me things that are available. So if I want to borrow Wrinkle in Time, I would encourage, if you're using these things, sometimes the purchasing requirements allow only so many checkouts. So encourage your students or your children to listen to samples first to see if that's what they want to do. So let's do Diary of a Wimpy Kid because that's just a classic, and we can listen to this and just give you an idea of what it's about. I'm just going to pick and start somewhere.
To my right, but luckily I stopped that from happening at the last second. Next period, I should just sit in the middle of a bunch of hot girls as soon as I step in the room. But I guess if I do that,
So again, I can it can look for my history and things like that. Up here, your settings, this is a sleep timer, so I can set that. Here's where I can do my settings on that for if I want to speed it up. Again, chapters, and there's also some tips and things like that. This is where I'd like to stop and ask if anybody has questions and things like that, but it's hard to do it when you're doing this virtual setting. So please feel free to reach out to me. I'm going to share my contact information at the bottom. If you would want more of a walkthrough, not from a salesperson, I'd be more than happy to give you that, as well as just some tips and tricks. If you want me to showcase some things with your students, your staff, I'd be more than happy to. You can reach out to me and we can work something out there. So again, we talked about the different vendors that you might be able to go through, and then what's the difference when you hear Sora and Libby and then Overdrive. So we were taking a look, jumped ahead. So now how are you going to get people to use these, right? Because it's out of sight, out of mind, and digitally, they're not out there. Um, um, excuse me. Digitally, you're not going to see them out in front of you. And if we're teaching virtually, or our students are not in the school building, it's hard to put things in front of them. So how can you do that? So let's talk about some promotion ideas. One, you can do tabletop or bookshelf displays. So that may be if you have students in person or you're going to the library itself. Those are some things. Now, I recommend, like you saw in this first one, QR codes, because a lot of times you can link that either to a book trailer to give them a more idea, or to link it to the actual where they can check it out on your website or the website of the vendor that you're using. That's one thing. Bookmarks. So these are some bookmarks that I did, and I noticed I just put scan, watch, and read. And so on this side was the QR code for the book trailer. And then if you flipped it on the back side, it's going to give you the link, the QR code, and the link to that title in our catalog. You can also do bulletin boards. So this is one copying off Netflix that you might be able to do. So you can print out the covers of books and you can use that. And I've even seen where shelf cards. So you might put a shelf card noticing or noting that that book is also comes in a digital format, whether it's an audio or a digital print book. Also QR codes on the inside cover of books. So when you have that, you might be able to say, oh, this is available in this format as well. Tutorials and videos are also helpful. School newsletters, social media is key. So this one right here, if you see, this is a post that I did last year, and I was promoting the audiobooks, audiobook sync for teens, the summer, and the 2 titles. So it started last year, or actually this spring, this past spring, April 30th of 2020. So this was what was available, the 57 bus and Monday's Not Coming, both phenomenal young adult titles if you're interested in that. So those are, and the other one I would say is if you have an audience with your PTO or your conference night, and also to present to your teachers that may not know about it, if you're in that position to share with your colleagues, to share during those nights. So pull a table out into the halls and put a display up for people to look at. If you can do a presentation in front of your PTO or another group, to do that, to kind of share the resources. So again, if you want more information, this was a very, very brief overview with just some highlights on some different resources that I have access to. But again, it's all about increasing access to ebooks, or using ebooks to increase access to reading, so that's the end goal, is we want our students, our friends, our colleagues, everybody to read more, because the benefits of reading are so phenomenal. Okay. And students can't get better at reading unless they read more. They need practice. So we tell our student athletes that they have practice every day, 5 days a week. But most of them aren't going to go pro. What about all of our students? They're going to need reading the rest of their life. So we want them to practice each and every day. And if they can have access to ebooks 24/7, that gives them student choice, accessibility, and lots of options, then that's what we want to do. So talk to your school librarian, talk to your public librarian, reach out to me, and I'd be more than happy to help you. So again, like I said, if you want more information or need a presentation similar to this catered for your school or group, please contact me. And let me move that out of the way again. So it's at Shan_Bosley is my Twitter handle. My email, you can do bosley.litchick@gmail.com, and that's lit as in literature. I always make that joke. I had a student who came up with that years ago because we were talking about chick lit and books that were catered towards girls and things like that. And then I recently started a Facebook page and blog called Bosley Book Look. and that is dealing with promotion of middle grades and young adult titles that parents and teachers and educators should be reading with um, and alongside of and about their students and things like that. So again, thank you very much. And I wanted to have a shout out to Slides Mania because this is one of her fabulous creations. So if you're interested in more information about that, go to slidesmania.com and you can find information about that. Take care and have a wonderful day.